Hello everyone, it's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel, tap the notification bell, and like this video. It helps me to keep making videos. I'd appreciate it. May join. There's so much reporting about this Jeffrey Epstein, situation, being charged with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to do sex trafficking of minors, something like that. And there's a new story every hour, new developments. It's absolute madness. And, I'm going to just talk about some of it. The coincidences are just, they're everywhere. And there's so many different people involved. Bill Clinton's already put out a statement he did earlier today or this evening, basically denying that he knows anything about these things he's been accused of, or that he pled to back in Florida, which is pretty much at the heart of the matter. The plea deal that he got in 2007 back in Florida from the former U.S. attorney, Alexander Acosta, who approved that plea deal, who is now Trump's labor secretary. I repeat, man, big time. Why, of all people, would Trump, of all the people he could have chosen to be his labor secretary, why did he choose the one person that presided over approving the sweetheart, slap on the wrist plea deal that was given to Jeffrey Epstein back in 2007, 2008 in Palm Beach, And that remains, an open question as to exactly, because the victims have sued to overturn that. It hasn't been overturned yet, even though the Southern District of New York is proceeding with these charges. Irrespective of that, they say they never signed on to that, and these charges relate to New York. Where they're located. And keep in mind, this is the Southern District of New York. I'm hearing some people saying Trump's going after pedophiles. This is the Southern District of New York. This is not Trump. Okay, this is Trump. This is against Trump. All right, the Southern District of New York is the same place that prosecuted Cohen and is trying to go after Manafort. One of the attorneys on this, and big Trump supporters have brought this up, is Comey's daughter. I don't know if she's part of the public corruption unit, which is a big part of the case. People have made hay about that because, basically the thought is that because of his wealth, Jeffrey Epstein, there could have been persons inside the government, far-reaching into the government, that have helped him avoid prosecution. And the public the public corruption, or the corruption unit of the Southern District of New York, is a big part of this case to prevent that. That's what some people are suggesting, and I'd say that's probably correct. So, he was in court twice today. Epstein was. I'm just going to try to just jump all over the place. And he's got a bail hearing. Well, his attorneys asked for 3 days to prepare for the bail hearing. The prosecutor, the U.S. attorneys, the prosecutors want him to be given no bail, and they want him to remain in detention during the extent of the trial, because he's a massive flight risk, because of his huge wealth. He spends a great deal of his life abroad. In fact, he was flying in from France when he was arrested, and at the same time that he was arrested, they were raiding his home. They were serving a search warrant on his Manhattan property. That's a huge townhome. It's worth $77 million. Actually, they're trying to seize that through the court, make him forfeit the entire property, because it was used, according to the allegations, for the sex trafficking charges. But they revealed some of the materials that were found in the home, which were quite not good for Jeffrey Epstein. There's just, like I said, there's so many coincidences all over the place. Alan Dershowitz and Ken the Star. I wasn't aware. I knew his name was being brought up again and again whenever Jeffrey Epstein was. He was his defense counsel. Those two both were at some point. I think during the plea deal of back in 2007. And these charges relate to acts that were between, I think, 2003 2002 and 2005. I'm not positive of the dates. But, I don't think that Alan Dershowitz is still his defense attorney, even though he was as recently as like December of 2018, just like 6 months ago, or a little bit longer. And it just cracks me up that, for the last 3 years, Alan Dershowitz, who's a huge Hillary supporter, Hillary has been on television advocating for Trump during the Russia investigation nonstop, as has Kenneth Starr, and both those two were, his attorney, Jeffrey Epstein. It's just remarkable. The coincidences in terms of, why is that? Why has Alan Dershowitz repeatedly been on Fox News, constantly advocating for Trump? Whatever. His attorneys more or less, even though it was just an arraignment and it was supposed to be a bail hearing, but like I said, the bail hearing's been postponed till Monday. The judge will decide. Thursday, the defense attorneys have got to present their cases to why he should be given bail and what amount they're, what amount they think is reasonable. But they were saying in court, at least at one point, basically saying that this is old news and that these individuals that are the victims are basically just prostitutes, and very much downplaying, the seriousness of it. It seems, it says at one point during the proceedings, Epstein's lawyer, Ryan Weingarten, compared the victims who previously accused his client of sexual assault to sex workers. It is fair to say that a significant segment of the law enforcement community in Florida thought that what we had was simple prostitution, stated Weingarten. He made these comments as two of those women, victims Michelle Licata and Courtney Wild, sat just feet away in the courtroom. Licata was 16 when she claimed Epstein assaulted her, while Wild was 14. He later referred to the allegations involving Epstein as being ancient conduct, when the judge pointed out that the victims being underage would make the allegations a crime regardless. Weingarten responded, "There's no statutory rape because there was no penetration." And then it goes on to tell about some of the things that were found at his home. The prosecutors found during, raiding his home, serving the search warrant. It says, meanwhile, the search uncovered at least hundreds and perhaps thousands of sexually suggestive photographs of fully or partially nude females. A number of those photographs appeared to be of underage girls, including at least one girl who, according to her counsel, was underage at the time the relevant photographs were taken. It also noted that some photos were discovered in a locked safe, where agents also found compact discs with handwritten labels, including the following: young, name plus name, miscellaneous nudes. These are the discs and how they were labeled. Girl pics nude. The indictment against the billionaire pedophile was unsealed on Monday morning and states that Epstein enticed and recruited and caused to be enticed and recruited minor girls at his mansion in Manhattan and his estate in Palm Beach to engage in sex acts with him. It goes on and on. So, and this is real. I think this is the first I've heard of this. I've been trying to read a lot of this news while I was working throughout the day. But the Attorney General Barr has recused himself from anything to do with this investigation, this case, and this is as of tonight, or as of in the last 24 hours. But I think as of today, it says Attorney General Barr is recusing himself from the sensational Jeffrey Epstein case, citing a potential legal conflict at a law firm. Although in another connection, Barr's father gave the convicted pedophile a big break professionally. Bill Barr's father was the headmaster of a school that Jeffrey Epstein got his first teaching job at. Because Jeffrey Epstein, from what I was reading about him today, he quit college. I don't know how he got a teaching job after not getting a degree. He was obviously extremely bright. I mean, he's a billionaire now. So, but his first job was as a math teacher, like a calculus and physics teacher or something like that at a high school, like a private high school that Bill Barr's father was the headmaster of. He hired him the first. So, but Bill Barr doesn't mention that in terms of his conflict of interest. He's basically citing a previous law firm that he worked for that long ago had represented Jeffrey Epstein, even though he himself hadn't. The firm he worked for had. And it goes on to talk about that. And I don't need to get into that. But what that does make me think about is that, is this, which this is just a couple weeks ago, where the Justice Department was basically before a judge, across from attorneys representing the victims who want the sweetheart plea deal, the slap on the wrist plea deal from 2007 overturned. And the Justice Department was arguing in favor of not doing that, not undoing that because of, they made their legal argument. I'll go through that in a second. And this is Trump's Justice Department, okay? So you can't make the case that that Trump is in opposition to this individual. His Justice Department attorneys were fighting to keep the plea deal, keep it, not undo it. Okay, and incidentally, William Barr at that stage just 2 weeks ago, he wasn't calling for himself to be recused from anything then. I mean, there wasn't an open case, but nevertheless, he's not making some public statement saying he's got to recuse himself. I mean, they were in open court arguing before a judge and ridiculously arguing before a judge, basically. I mean, when you listen to this article, I'll read it right now. The U.S. Attorney Byung Pak, BJ, argued in a new filing that setting aside the immunity provisions of the 2007 deal that let Epstein evade federal sex trafficking charges and plead guilty to a single prostitution charge in Florida state court could cause unintended harm. Pak, the U.S. attorney, defending the plea deal, and this is from 2 weeks ago. This is June 25th, 2019. Pak claimed that the deal originally granted by former Miami U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, Trump's now Labor Secretary, now President Trump's Secretary of Labor, helped some victims remain anonymous and still obtain civil settlements from the wealthy financier. He also claimed that Congress failed to outline specific penalties in the Crime Victims' Rights Act, so Epstein's victims have no right to demand any remedies from the government. Their attorneys basically, one lawyer representing Epstein survivors scoffed at Pak's claims. Claims that several victims invoked the non-prosecution agreement to strike their civil settlements. The victims' attorneys are basically saying, how could they possibly relied on that non-prosecution agreement, to help them in their civil settlements, because they didn't know it even existed. They weren't made aware of it. That was the whole point. And their attorneys were saying how ridiculous that's the basis under which you overturned, because the victims relied on it. It's just insane. But this is Trump's Justice Department that's defending it, and it's Trump that nominated the former U.S. attorney, the former Miami U.S. attorney, Alexander Acosta, to be his labor. Why is that? Okay? But when William Barr's recruited, it's hilarious. So, that's pretty much it, man. You can go. This is going to go on and on, but you can see where I'm coming from, I think. And A.G. Barr has also said that he's not getting involved in the Epstein matter. I'm recused from the matter because one of the law firms that represented Epstein long ago was a firm that I joined for a period of time. He said, "This is William, Attorney General Barr." Like I said, you know where I'm coming from. That's the story there for now. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.